And we are back. This is PewDiePower. I'm Mike Dean. He is Joe Bell, and we are ready to go with another edition. And we got Washington. We talked about it a little bit before. Now we're going to talk about it a little bit more in the last game.
Let's talk about Washington for a couple minutes.
Washington, a 29-24 loss. It's a loss.
Yeah.
But it was a good loss, I thought.
Well, it was funny. You and I
If there is
actually,
a good loss,
it
I
was
should
funny
say.
anyway. If there is a good loss, preseason's the time to have it.
Right.
We were sitting at Lollygaggers in Crystal River, the new sports bar.
Yep.
And we were watching the game, and a lot of people were watching the game there too. And we heard them all say, "Oh my God, they look horrible. What are we gonna do? This year's gonna suck."
Nobody played.
Well, they didn't play, but Washington played their first team.
Yeah,
for the
because-
entire first half.
Yeah, because
they
Shanahan
played
was
their
trying to
first
get the
team
quarterback.
defensive line and first team offensive line. So Tampa really got a good look at what their second, third, and fourth team players can do against a real offense and a real defense.
Yeah, and-
so actually, he wasn't mad. At halftime, Morris came out and he was like, "Okay, this is not bad," because we were all like, "Oh my God, what's it?" You think he'd be freaking out, mad, but he wasn't. He was okay because it was just what's going to happen.
Right.
You know, when you play a first team versus that, but he got a lot of information in that first half that made him make some choices that we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Right. I think Washington, they were playing Beck, who the quarterback was there. Grossman didn't even play. And this week, Shanahan has named the starter, so the starter wasn't in there. But the starting offensive line was in there.
And you could tell.
You could tell.
Because they were opening up holes like crazy. It was an entire
Yeah.
game. The only things I saw bad in this game were the penalties
again.
They had 125 yards in penalties for like the fourth week in a row. They've had over 100 yards.
130 the week before, 125 now.
Yeah, I mean they've got to fix that because they are not.
And that was first team and second team.
They are not going to win real games with penalties.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, if they have over 100 yards of penalties against Detroit, they're probably going to lose that game.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I really do. I don't think they can do that against Detroit. And Ed Gant had a 96-yard touchdown in the second half. Didn't help him make the team though. He
I know.
still got cut.
He played really well.
That was the one play we had the little list on
Yeah.
who we thought was going to get cut. I think that's the one player that I saw that I thought was going to make the team that didn't. That was actually the one I had that I think I missed.
Yeah, you did.
I missed that one. So
That's the only one he's missed.
I think it's
missed
the
all
only
of them.
one I missed, but I did miss that. I really honestly thought he was going to make the team, and I missed a couple of the tight ends too. Tampa actually ended up keeping 2 quarterbacks instead of 3.
3, right? That was the key.
Which caused a
Carpenter and
choice.
Crompton are
Yes,
gone.
but actually,
They're not
Carpenter
gone.
is on the practice squad. Just to give you a quick rundown, I'm not going to go through these. Will Parker. Will
Tackle.
Barker, not Parker.
Yeah.
Will Barker. Offensive tackle, free safety Amon Black, who they thought was going to make the team, but he was hurt all preseason. He was the 5th round pick. Rudy Carpenter, the quarterback. Tight end Colin Franklin, who came from another team. They pulled him off somebody else's team. Ed Gant. Tight end Daniel Hardy, who was our 7th round pick. Running back Moses Madu, who was an undrafted free agent for Tampa. Good running back, but they're going to keep him on the practice squad. And linebacker Darrell Smith, and he got cut earlier in the offseason.
Well, yeah, and they also picked up 2 more, the 2 more signings.
Yes.
They had Zach Pananato, the tight end, and Zach Dials, a middle linebacker.
He was an undrafted free agent from North Carolina, that tight end. But they only had 2 tight ends on the roster, which really surprised me.
Right.
Because they're a
Stalker
tight end.
and Winslow.
They're a tight end offense. If you watch Tampa play, they'll always have 2 tight ends in the game to block for the running backs and to get a clip on because the offensive line's not that great, which we're going to talk about in the next segment about Detroit. But that's one of those things. 2 tight ends, and Kellen Winslow gets hurt all the time. So how can you have – and Stalker was hurt already. So
well, that's why I don't understand why they let go Hardy.
well, he's on the practice squad, so they can pull him back up at any point. But they went with 2 quarterbacks instead of 3 because now you can't dress a 3rd quarterback. That's a new rule this year. It changed how that works. And actually, Sammy Strouder was a quarterback in high school.
So he's the 3rd.
So
he's
he
actually
is
the 3rd
quarterback, and he did get a lot of work in the offseason doing a little quarterback
So in
work,
reality, you're going to see 3rd quarterbacks that are going to be playing other positions. So the dual positioning.
You're not going to see very many teams keep 3 quarterbacks at all this year. I really don't think so. Not with the new rule change.
Yeah.
Not with the rule change.
All right. I think Washington is what it is, but you got some other stuff on that. I wanted to make sure that we're looking at the tight end, not tight end, but the practice squad.
Yeah, the practice squad's pretty interesting, and I was surprised. They kept a lot of corners. They kept almost all of them. I mean, they really didn't get rid of anybody at corner, and they kept everybody at safety except for Amon Black. So it's kind of interesting to see where that's going to go. Sean Jones, I think Sean Jones is on borrowed time. I think they've made a decision that young man, if he does not come out early, they're going to yank him out of the game.
Really?
Yeah, I really believe that. I don't think he's going to stay in there very long if he doesn't play well right off the bat. I just don't. because he's had a couple years. This is his second full year as a starter.
Right.
He has got to prove he belongs there. Tanar Jackson is still out. I believe he can come back in week 2 or 3. They can actually get him back on the team, but he hasn't practiced. So what good is that going to be? And are they going to take him back? God only knows.
Right.
I mean, at this point, what are you going to do?
Well, and again, we're talking about Washington game and what the players have come up. Washington was really nothing. I mean, it wasn't even a necessary game to play as far as I'm concerned, but it is to these people that Let me ask you a question.
I'm
going to ask you a question, and I've had a lot of people ask me this off the air and in different times. Why did he not play at least the starters for one quarter or one series? I mean, to get them acclimated to that point.
I guess the answer to that would be, what if Josh Freeman got hurt on the first play of this game that didn't matter?
True.
With another game coming up in 8 days.
But other coaches have done that on the first series. I mean,
some
I'm just
have,
saying.
but 90% do not play any starters in that last game. Washington was a little different because they didn't have a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So, you can't really do that. But I would never play him in the last game. Never, never, never. Okay. Because you're always going to get second-guessed. If somebody gets hurt, the coach is going to get second-guessed. Why in the world did you do that? You're better. I'd rather take a beating for just not playing anybody than to have somebody play that we have to have get hurt in a meaningless game.
Okay.
I guess that's the give-off to that. Either way, one or the other. So you know how that works.
Yeah, I mean,
lesser of two evils as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and I understand that completely. I just had a lot of people ask me at least to give Josh Freeman and the offensive line to gel one more time defensively to kind of work on some schemes because it was the first team offensive line. It would have been going against our first team defensive line, so it's hopefully to see it. But
and that's what we get in emails all the time. Is the most questions come about the 4th preseason game and why there's 4 preseason games. That's the other question. Why aren't there 2 in the 18-game season? God, we could go on forever about why there's not 18 games and the season's short and these guys can't play any more games. Too many injuries, not enough play on the squad. So you never know.
Well, next segment coming up, we're going to be talking about Detroit. Joe's going to have his keys to the game. Okay,
this is important because this game's going to be a little tricky.
Important.
I think this is a tricky game for Tampa.
And it's going to test the defense on the secondary end, at least, Calvin Johnson.
This could be a lose-lose game for them, and I'll tell you why when we come back.
A lose-lose.
Yep. When we come back, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting because this is one of those games.
It could be a win-win situation, but lose-lose?
It could be a lose-lose.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Don't go away.